All right, welcome to the Stockscores tour. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through the different areas of the Stockscores website, try to give you a quick demonstration of everything. It's not really going to be in-depth on anything. We will have areas in the user guide and things like that to do those sorts of things. I want to give you the broad look at how the website works. Now, what is Stockscores all about? It was built to empower investors to quickly find trading opportunities. That's our primary goal. I started Stockscores a long time ago now, 17 years ago, because I didn't have the tools that I wanted out there. I had a very specific approach to the market. It's relatively simple. It focuses on abnormal behavior. And the tools that I needed to give me an edge in the market didn't exist. And so I created the tools, and then I realized that I had to teach people how to use those tools because my approach isn't, I guess, a mainstream approach. And I think that's one of the reasons it works well. I always say if you do what everyone else does, you're going to get average. I don't want to be average. I want to be better than average. So I use my own tools, my own approach, and I also teach people that approach because you won't read about it in someone else's book. You have to read my book. And that's, I guess, the basis of the Stockscores website. It's fairly exclusive. I don't advertise it a lot. There's not, millions of users. I like it that way. I like it to be a small website. The people that find me, great. I'm happy to show you my method, but I'm not particularly interested in having it used by a lot of people because I think that takes away the edge that it gives me in trading. So tonight's tour, I thought that the best way to do it is to go through what tools you have access to based on your membership level. And by doing that, we'll take a look at all of the tools, and then you'll also get a sense of what you get access to with different membership levels. So we're going to look at what you get access to if you are a free member and not registered, if you are a free member and you have registered, if you are what we call a foundation member, which used to be an advanced, if you are an investor member, which used to be pro, active member, which also used to be pro. We've changed our membership levels with the launch of the new website. I will then give you some areas to go if you want to learn more about these different tools. And then finally, we're going to do some market scans together to use what I think is the most important tool on Stockscores and hopefully find some trading opportunities with that tool tonight. So we'll ultimately try to apply the tools to find something to trade. So let's begin with what you have access to if you just went to stockscores.com and you do not log in. So you have free access, you don't log in with a username or password. What do you get access to? Well, the first thing is the stock scores. When I created Stockscores 17 years ago, the focus was the score. And so I can pull up the chart of any stock. I'm going to pull up the chart of Microsoft here. And in the top right, you can see the scores, the signal stock score and a sentiment stock score. The sentiment stock score is, I would say, the more important one. It is a exponential moving average of the signal. It smooths out the signal stock score. And if you look below the chart here, you can see our stock scores indicators. And the basic rule that has existed for 17 years is that the sentiment stock score should be above 60 and the signal stock score should be above 80. Now, what are the scores based on? That's what I'm always asked. The way it works is that every stock gets 50 points to begin with, and we add points using a computer algorithm if there are good things in the chart. So for example, breaks through resistance like happened here will get some points. If it has an abnormal volume on that day, it'll get some points. If there are rising bottoms on the chart, it will get some points. If there are falling tops on the chart, it's going to lose some points. If it's breaking down through support, that's a negative aspect of a chart, it's going to lose some points. And so you can see that when those negative things happen, like we're happening here, you get more spikes down in the signal stock score. And when you're getting breakouts to new highs in an upward trend, that sort of thing, you're going to get breaks higher in the signal stock score. And what we do is we smooth out that score with the green line so you can have a sense of is the stock strong or not. Now this is a 6-month chart of Microsoft, and you can see that it has been above 60 for that entire period. In fact, we could go back even farther, make this a 1-year chart, And you can see that the sentiment stock score, that critical green line, has been above 60 for the entire year, looking back. And for that entire year, this stock has been in an upward trend. So you can see it's quite useful to focus in on good stocks, but also avoid bad stocks. If we pulled up, I don't know, an energy stock, let's say, let's try, I'm just going to randomly pick Suncor on the Toronto Stock Exchange and make this a 1-year chart. The stock hasn't performed well, and you can see that for the most part it's been below 60, particularly since the trend reversed. Here we had an upward trend in Suncor, stock scores were good, and then it started to roll over and move lower, and the stock scores have been below that 60 level, hovering around 50 for most of that time. So that's the stock scores and what they're all about, and I'll show you later where you can get a little more information on the stock scores. Now, if you want to pull up the stock scores for any stock, simply enter the symbol in the Get the Stock Scores box up here at the top of the site. If you're doing this on a smaller device, it might be in a different position because the new website sizes itself based on the type of screen or the height or the size of the screen that you're looking at. So it's going to look different on your phone than it would look on a computer, for example. And if you're on a very big computer screen, everything's going to get spread out, but you can resize the window on your computer to make things smaller. Now, if you want to enter in a symbol for a US stock, simply enter the symbol. So if I want to look up Netflix, I just type in NFLX, and there's the chart of Netflix. If I want to enter in a Canadian stock, you have to put in a prefix. So if I wanted to look at Bank of Montreal on the Toronto Stock Exchange, I'm going to type in T dot and then BMO for Bank of Montreal. Click on enter, get the stock scores, and there is the Bank of Montreal on the Toronto Stock Exchange, which you can see right there. Now, Bank of Montreal also trades on the New York Stock Exchange. So if I type in BMO without the prefix, it's going to give me the New York listing. And there you can see it says New York Stock Exchange BMO. Same company, one's traded in US dollars, one is traded in Canadian dollars. The prefix for TSX Venture Stocks is a V dot. And so if you type in V.GUG, you get a stock listed on the TSX Venture. Tends to be smaller cap, cheaper stocks, more speculative stocks listed on the TSX Venture. So the prefix for TSX Venture is V dot. The prefix for Toronto is T dot. That's T as in Tony, dot, and then the symbol. All right. Now, another thing that you can do if you are free and not logged into the website is simply view charts, which we've kind of been doing already. I type in the symbol and I can view a chart. If I want to change how the chart looks, I can go below the chart, click on chart options, and instead of making this a daily chart for 6 months, I could make this a daily chart for 12 months. Click on create chart, and now my default chart is going to be a 1-year daily chart. And I can make all kinds of changes to the chart using the controls below the chart in the chart options dialog box or the chart options tab here. You can make all kinds of changes. You can add indicators. You can turn on volume. You can turn on the stock scores. Lots of things to play around with in those chart settings. And that's probably the most commonly used of the tabs below the chart. Well, now I've got basically a 12-month chart. And if I bring up any other chart, it's going to also be a 12-month chart. It remembers the settings that you have set. Now, the new thing that we added to the Stockscores website with this latest launch are the interactive charts. If I click on interactive, I'm going to get a chart that allows me primarily to draw on it. It has a lot of different functionality. I can change the vertical scale. I can change the horizontal scale just by dragging it. Okay. If I wanted to draw lines, I can click on the line drawing tool right here, and I can draw a line on that chart. Now maybe I don't want that line to be quite so thin. Well, I can change the thickness of it. I can change the color of it. I can draw more lines. Except I have to click on my drawing tool. All right, so it gives you the ability to highlight chart patterns. That is an ascending triangle pattern. I've drawn on that. I can do all kinds of different things with these drawing tools. I don't want to go into each one individually because it's something that I think is easier just to play with. But you can put arrows on your chart to highlight where you might want to highlight the breakout, for example. You can use this risk reward tool, which allows you to see the risk and the reward of a trade based on start points and end points. So there you can see the risk reward ratio using that combination is 4.61. That's something I teach in my courses. If you have taken my courses, you'll know what that's all about. I won't go into too much detail with that tonight, but I just want to show you some of the things that you can do. All right, and just, the best thing to do is just play with it. You're not going to break anything. Just take each icon, apply it, and try it out and see what it does. You want to put some text on the chart, put in a text box. This is a nice chart. Click on OK, and it's going to put that text box in the chart. All right. Now, you can also look at intraday charts. If I wanted to look at a 5-minute version of this chart, I can do that. It's kept the scale of the last chart I looked at because I drew on it. So I'll just redo this. So this is now a 5-minute chart of Intel. I could do a 13-minute chart of Intel. Right? You can do 60-minute. Just pick your chart from the pull-down menu. Maybe you don't like candlestick charts. I love candlesticks. Maybe you don't like them. Maybe you just want to do a normal bar chart. Well, there you go. You can change those kinds of things. They're fairly easy to read, nice color, that sort of thing. You can change your settings, up color, down color. I know that 10% of the male population is colorblind. So if you don't want your up color to be green, you'd rather it be black and your down color be a lighter gray, and you can do that. Maybe that makes it easier to view for someone who's colorblind. And I hear it often from our users that they can't differentiate between red and green, so you have the options to change those sorts of things. So that's a quick overview of the interactive chart. I will do a longer video that will eventually be in the user guide that'll give you a little more insight into some of the things that can be done there. You can also make this larger if you want to make that full-size screen. You just click on the little icon, this one right here, which will make your chart larger. And you can remain in drawing mode. If you double mouse click, you can go drawing tools and stay in drawing mode, so that if you are in drawing mode, you can draw and you don't have to keep adding in, you don't have to keep clicking on the pencil button as you draw each line. And then once you're in your large chart view, you can continue to draw without having to have the icons there, and that'll stick with you when you're in large mode. Okay. All right, so I'm going to move along. We'll get out of this and go back to this. So that is the difference between the quick charts and the interactive charts. Now we also have chart viewers. And again, these are free to use, but if you want to view your own lists, you need to be logged in. So I'll show you what you can do without being logged in. If I go into the slideshow chart viewer, I can view a sector. So I could view the advertising sector in the US and view those charts. If you wanted to view your watch list, well, then we need to know who you are. If you haven't logged into the website, the website has no way of knowing your name or what web chart list you've brought up. So you need to log in for that. And I'll get to that in just a moment. On the education side, there's some good information to get started. We'll talk first about the weekly trading lesson. Go to Trader Training and go to Trading Lesson of the Week. And there you can see this week's lesson, which I just uploaded prior to this presentation. In this edition, I talk about the essential elements of reading chart patterns. And that's a little lesson there. Plus, you can see past lessons are accumulated here, and they go back a number of years. So there's lots and lots of good information there for free. And that's basically the weekly email newsletter that I write is all summarized in the Trading Lesson of the Week. We also have the Getting Started videos. If you go under Trader Training and go to Getting Started, there are a number of free videos that you can watch, whether you are a member or not. So if you want to learn some of the basics of charting, there is a video there that gives you some of the basics of charting. This video is 16 minutes long, and I encourage you to give that a look if you're just getting started on learning how to trade with charts and that sort of thing. Finally, we have upcoming events on all the time. They are often free, not always, but this particular one, as you know, is free. And those will be summarized on the homepage under upcoming events, or you can go to the upcoming events page and it'll take you to this where you can see the current upcoming events. Now, there is some colored identification here. For example, this one says free. This one says active trader. That's the prerequisite. So in order to do the September 2017 Active Live webinar, which is a daily webinar where you see me trade and my algorithm monitors the market for trades, in order to do that, you have to be an active trader member, and there's a cost to that of $195. Tonight's presentation, a tour of the new Stockscores website, is a free presentation, and you would simply click on register online and you can register. You guys have all done that, obviously, because you're here. All right, so those are some of the ways that I sort of want to help you get started in your learning with some free content. Next, move along to free content that you have to be registered and logged in to use, and the primary tools there are the watch list creator and the portfolio creator. If we go back into Stockscores, go to charts, and go to the watch list creator tool, this allows me to create a list of stocks that I can view as charts. So I can click on create watch list, and I can call this September 5th webinar. And I can just add some symbols in here. So we can put in Microsoft, Netflix, Suncor, BMO, V.GUG, all the symbols we've talked about tonight so far. Click on create watch list. I can then set thresholds so that when I view the watch list, it will color code it. If I want to know when Microsoft is greater than 77.29, I would leave it as it is. Click on submit. And now what will happen is when I view that watch list, so I can go select it now from my menu. We are on September, let's see, I've got a few of them, September 5th webinar. There are my list that I just created. Nothing has crossed its threshold, so everything is still the same color. If it was getting close to the threshold, it would turn yellow. And if it was through the threshold as it was set, it would turn green. Now, once you've created a watch list, the usefulness of that is I can then go into those chart viewers. So I can go back to the, say, the slideshow chart viewer, and I can select view my watch list and select that September 5th webinar watch list. And it will now allow me to view those charts one at a time in the slideshow chart viewer. And I can just go through them with my right arrow on my keyboard and just quickly go through the charts of the stocks that I have put into that watch list. So you can create lots of different watch lists. If you want to create not only a list of the charts, but also sort of monitor what you paid for the stock, then you would create a portfolio. So I could go in here and call this September 5th webinar portfolio, and I could say, okay, I bought 1,000 shares of Microsoft. I paid, I'll just make stuff up here, $70 a share. I had $10 in commissions, and I bought it on, let's say I bought it August 6th. I don't know what the price was August 6th. We'll just pretend. I could put in Bank of Montreal, and I bought 500 shares of Bank of Montreal. I paid $25, and I paid a commission of $10, and I bought that in 2016, so on and so forth. I could add lots of different stocks in here. You can see there's lots of space. Click on Save Changes, and now it will show me what my base cost is, what the current value of my holdings are, and the percent gain or loss, as well as the dollar amount gain or lost. So you can see my overall portfolio, which I just invented very quickly, is up 32.79%, and I'm up $27,000 on a base cost of $82,000. So it's a great way to build a portfolio. It'll separate your Canadian and US stocks. But the added bonus is now that I've created that portfolio, I can go into my charts, go into, let's use the gallery chart viewer this time, and go to my portfolio, September 5th webinar, and it will allow me to view those charts either in a gallery view like this, where I see them 10 per page, and if I click on the chart, I can blow it up. So it's a great way to keep an eye on your portfolio. This way you can go through a portfolio of 30 stocks in just a few minutes, because you've got these chart viewers that will allow you to go through them very quickly and see what's happening. If you wanted to switch to the slideshow, no problem, click on slideshow. And now you can see the larger charts one at a time. I can click on next and watch the larger chart of Microsoft. All right, so it's a handy tool there. Now, in addition to those watch list creators, you can also use the Market Scan Lite. It gives you a very limited access to the Market Scan tool. Now, I'm logged in, but if I wasn't logged in, and if I was just a free member, I would have access to the general filters and the Stockscores filters. So that would mean I could look for stocks that have a signal score of greater than 80, a sentiment score greater than 60 on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and I could then run the report. I won't be able to use the other filters in the market scan, which I'll show you in a bit. And it found 65 stocks for me. I could then view those stocks in my chart viewers to look for good chart patterns. And I can quickly go through these. We're going to do this together later. But, I can sort of go through and say, oh, that one looks pretty good. Argonaut Gold made a little breakout 5 or 6 days ago. Looks like it's turning around. Many stocks in the gold sector look exactly like this chart. So it's something that I've seen a lot of lately. All right, so that's the Market Scan Lite. It does not give you access to all the other filters, which I'll show you later. It's only the first 2 sections, but it's free. All right, moving along. Oh, the one other thing is that you have the option to receive my free weekly Foundations email newsletter. If you want to receive that and you're a member, free member, this is a free service that we do, go into my account, go to the newsletter section, and here you can update your newsletter subscription. Enter your email address. You want to receive it as HTML, turn it on. Mine's already on, but yours may not be. So you could turn that on, click on update, and now our system will send you my weekly trading lesson, my stock picks of the week. It's all free. My aim is to give you some education, to show you how the tools of Stockscores work. I hate spam. You won't get a bunch of garbage from us because I don't like it myself, so we don't send it out. You'll get the newsletter once a week, and maybe if I'm doing an event in your area, you'll get an email about that. But other than that, we don't send out a lot of emails. So typically once a week, you'll receive something from me. All right, let's move on to what you get at the foundation level. So here you get everything that I've talked about already, of course, but you also get access to the member tools, the market scan, the sector watch, and the risk calculator. Now, when you go into the market scan, there are different levels of presets. So if you are a foundation level, you're going to get access to the foundation scans. There's 2 of them, the foundation Canadian and the foundation US. I may add some more down the road. I haven't had time to do so yet, but it's some basic scans that come with the foundation learning. If you have bought the foundation education bundle in the past, then when you go into the education area, so if I go into Trader Training and I go to the Education Center, you are going to have access to the Getting Started area, which is free. You're also going to have access to the Foundation area, which are all these lessons. There's a written lesson, there's a video, there's an assignment for most of them, and there is a test. You have to purchase access to this. I'll show you pricing and that sort of thing in a moment. But with the foundation level, you get access to these, and you get access to the market scan tool, the risk calculator, and the sector watch. Now, there are some of you who are grandfathered. Let's say you were an advanced subscriber in the past, you did not purchase the foundation bundle. You may still be able to use the market scan as a foundation user, but you will not have access to the education unless you've bought that access. All right, so just to go back to the foundation level, you get access to the foundation scans and the free scans. You also get access to the risk calculator. So if I go into my charts tool and go to the risk calculator, this allows me to calculate the risk and the reward and position size for a trade. So I could say I'm buying a stock at $50. My stop loss price is at $47.50. and I'm doing a fixed dollar limit. I could also choose percentage of my account. We'll stick with fixed dollar. I don't want to risk more than $500 per trade. I pay $10 in commissions, and it will tell me how many shares to buy in that position. 196 shares, which I would round off to 200. And that is going to be a useful tool, primarily if you understand my approach to the market. If you've gone through the foundation material and my strategies in the investor or the active trader area, that tool is going to be really valuable for you. If not, you might have to educate yourself on risk management. Now, once you've done a trade, let's say I bought 100 shares and I paid $50 on the entry, and I sold it at $74, and my stop loss price was $47.50, and my commissions were $10. Now I click on submit. I can see that I have earned a risk reward ratio of 1 to 9.6, or 9.6 to 1, 9.6 times my risk. I was willing to risk $500, and I guess my risk wasn't $500 because I had a smaller number of shares. But anyway, you get the idea. That is how we do it. Now, if it was a short position, you can change to short, recalculate it, that sort of thing. So it's a real handy tool for analyzing your trades. The final tool I want to show you here is the sector watch. So I can go into the US indices. I can see the scores of the different sectors in the US. I can click on the toys sector and see the companies that make up the toys sector. And I could click on this and see the chart of that company. I can also, let's do electronic arts here. And I can also look at individual charts in the gallery view. Now, there are a few updates that need to be done to this. It's on my to-do list, so we'll get that done soon, where I will be rebuilding all of the sectors so that they reflect the current sectors. You'll find in some cases some of the stocks just aren't trading anymore. For example, this one says NA. I have a feeling that might not even be trading anymore. So it's something I have to manually update from time to time, and I'll be doing that shortly. All right, let's move on to what you get at the investor level. So at investor level, you're getting primarily now new market scans. So if I go into the market scan sector or group, I can see the investor scans, and you can see there's quite a few more. Now, these investor scans correspond to strategies that are in the education center. So if I go into the education center now and go down to the investor section, there you can see different strategies: abnormal breaks, bottom fishing, simple weekly, simple daily. So those are what are covered in the investor scans. There's a few extras because I have some different ways of finding stocks for the same strategy. For example, if I was doing the Stockscores Simple Canada in the morning, I would actually run morning movers. The US, I would run morning movers US. So that's how I find stocks earlier in the day. But that's the idea, is that these correspond to the strategies that are taught in the education center. All right. You get access to the foundation and investor education bundles. So if I go back into the trader training area, education center, and go into the investor section, you can see that I could watch a video and read a lesson on this particular strategy. All right, I could watch the video on that particular strategy as well. So you just click on the video icon and up will pop a video. This one is 12 minutes long, and it's got some snazzy music to start, and it has me teaching the different rules for that particular strategy. Okay. Now, finally, let's talk active trader before we do some market scans together. So active trader, you get everything I've talked about already, but you also get access to the active trader scan. So if I go back to the market scan and select the pull down menu here, there you can see a number of active trader scans. Now, one other thing I should note is that you can also create your own scans. You can see here that I've got all kinds of scans that I've built over the years, and I have access to those from the market scan as well. So I could go into the market scan and I could choose one of my presets that I built for myself, action candles, for example. Run the market scan. It's going to find all of the stocks that have made action candles today. It was 29. and I can go through my slideshow, or pardon me, my gallery viewer. If I like a chart, blow it up. There I can see a big abnormal day breaking a downward trend, not a bad looking chart. We'll do some market scans together in a moment. In addition to that, you get access to my proprietary indicators for TradeStation. So if you want to be a day trader, maybe a swing trader, my indicators that I've created for TradeStation, which you get with the Active Trader bundle, are really, really valuable. And I use them every day to identify the stocks that are moving. I catch them earlier than most people, and it's very helpful to focus in on the stocks that are hot that day. I won't go into it too much because I don't want to make this focus on my courses. You can watch, I'll show you where you can watch it. If you want to learn more about how those indicators work, go to the Learn How to Trade area and go down to the Active Trader section here. And there's a video right here that you can watch that will explain all of those things and how they work. Finally, if you are an Active Trader member, you are eligible for Stockscores Active Live. Now, Stockscores Active Live is a service where I create the watch list of stocks each day, and my algorithms running on TradeStation will alert you to the trades as they happen. So on this screen, you've got a list of all of the trade alerts that have happened for that particular day. You've got your watch list here, and you've got charts of stocks that I might look at. And you can hear that it announces when there is a stock that has met the requirements of one of my strategies. It's all automated. There's more information in other areas on the Stockscores website about Active Live, but you can only subscribe to Active Live if you are a Active Trader member. All right, so if you want to learn more about some of these things, go to the Learning More area, go to Trader Training, and learn how to trade, how to use the Stockscores. Here's a list of all the different membership levels: free, foundation, investor, active trader, mentorship. It shows what you get in each section. It's all outlined here with little check boxes on what each level gets you. It shows you the pricing for each level. It shows you the recurring monthly cost, the annual cost if it's available for that level. We also have some information on my daily newsletter, which is available from tradescores.com. And you can just peruse this to get a little more information on what is offered. So it's a good place to start. Go to the Getting Started area. There's lots of videos on some of the basics of how I approach the market. If you want to learn some of the basics about my approach and the theory behind what I do, you can purchase my book. It's available in a hard copy, which you can order online. It also is available as an electronic copy if you want to view it on a Kindle or in an EPUB, an e-reader software like for your phone or an iPad or something like that. You can order it either way. And obviously, if you order the electronic version, you're going to get it instantly. We email you the link to download it right away. If you want to order the hard copy of the book, I will mail it out to you, but it takes 3 or 4 days until you're going to get it, maybe a week, depending on where you are. All right, but that's all there. You can actually read chapter 1 of the book right here. So if you want to get a sense of my approach, you can read chapter 1 right online and go through that there. So that's another good way to get started with my approach. All right, so let's hunt for trading opportunities. Before I do that, I'll just pause to see if there's any questions, and then we'll continue along in just a moment now. So let's do some market scans. We're going to go to the market scan tool. And I'm going to run the abnormal break scan because that's kind of my favorite these days. Now this particular scan is useful for finding position trades or swing trades. We're going to do it primarily to look for position trades tonight. Now I have clicked on go with the gallery viewer, but I think I'm going to do slideshow just so we can look at these in a little more detail. So what we want to look for when we're looking at charts, and this is one of the things I wrote about in this weekend's newsletter. If you received that this afternoon, that was great, is looking for stocks breaking from low volatility. So here's a stock that's done that. It broke higher today, pretty strong volume. One of the weaknesses is that it did not close near its high of the day. But it has broken through resistance. So I would rate this chart a 7 out of 10. I don't love it, but I do like it. Notice that the sentiment stock scores have been below 50 for a long time, and they've just cruised above that lately. and the volume got real strong. So something's going on there. I think this stock has got pretty good potential. I'm just a little disappointed that it closed kind of weak. Now, I will take a look and see how it closed today and why that is. And it doesn't look that bad. It looks like it had a pop in the morning and then it stayed pretty stable into the close in the afternoon. So I think that's a pretty good setup. Again, I'll give that one a 7 out of 10. Let's go on to the next one. And I think this is good. It looks like a lot of gold stocks. I would say the bus left the station on this one 5 days ago. And if you read my daily newsletter, which you can subscribe to at tradescores.com, you'll know that I featured the junior gold miner ETF on this day right here 5 days ago. So I didn't want to feature a whole bunch of gold stocks. They were all kind of moving together. So I did it in the ETF, and it's actually done quite well. Looks very similar to this. So I think this is a good hold. I think it's a couple days late now to buy it, but a good hold. Don't particularly like this one. Not breaking from low volatility. Going to come into a lot of resistance. So we'll slice past that one. Now this one I actually bought personally right here, whatever that was, 5 days ago. And it had a good day today. I bought it because it had an abnormal up day, breaking the downward trend line. It's kind of a new thing that I'm trying. It's not what I would traditionally buy. You can see that the stock scores actually aren't that good, but I have found that stocks that break downward trend lines on with abnormal price action often go into good upward trends. So that's one strategy that you'll see soon in the investor area of the website, and it will be one where we use a different set of rules for the stock scores than what I have talked about in the past with the 80-60 rule. All right, moving along, New Gold, stock that I wrote about in this weekend's newsletter. And again, I prefer if people bought it 5 days ago when it first made that break, but it does look like it's still got some upside. I like it when you look at the 3-year weekly. You can see that it's really turning the corner here. It's been a pretty ugly chart over a year, and now it's starting to come higher. I think it gets to 575 or so, and then it'll probably get stalled. You can see the stock scores are pretty good. They've only recently become good. So it's just turning the corner on the momentum. Next chart. Very abnormal day today. Good, strong volume, abnormal price action. Don't really like the risk reward of this trade. And the reason is that the upside is to maybe $14. Your downside is to 10. So you're buying at 12. You've got $2 of downside, $2 of upside. It doesn't make great sense as a trade in that regard. So, and you can see the stock scores aren't that good either. It's because it's been in a downward trend for some time. All right, let's do that same market scan on the US market. So we'll do abnormal breaks US, run the market scan, and we have 42 stocks to look at. So what we're going to do is do this in the gallery viewer. The problem that you're going to see here, let me show you this. If I click on go, you're going to see that the charts don't show a lot of detail because I've got too many months in that chart, right? See that, how these charts are all kind of small? We can fix that. If I go into any chart, we'll pull up Microsoft, and I'm going to change the chart from a 1-year chart, go to my chart options, and instead of being a 12-month chart, I'm going to make this an 8-month chart, and click on Create. Now I've set my default to 8 months. So now if I go back to my market scan and run the abnormal breaks US, I'm going to get the same 42 stocks. Click on Gallery Viewer, go. Now you will see that I can see the detail. Okay, now if I wanted to, I could make this bigger simply by clicking on it. So if I click on that, I get a larger version of the chart. All right, now this stock started the day strong but faded into the close. That's why it's a red candle. That means it closed below its open. So I don't like that. It's a sign that the sellers were pretty motivated as the day wore on. So I'm just going to go through these, looking through this Infinity Pharma. It's actually pretty good. Not my traditional type of setup because it's a break of a downward trend line. I would say this has a 60% chance of going higher, but it has a nice risk-reward trade-off. So I'd give this one a 7 out of 10. This one here I bought today, IDXG. I'm going to just zoom in on this a little bit more. You can see that it made an abnormal break from a rising bottom above the downward trend line. This is actually a bottom fishing setup. And you can see that the stock scores have just gone positive today. So I personally bought this today. I'm holding it. I bought it this afternoon before the close. I call this one an 8 out of 10. I actually quite like this chart. Okay, moving along. Looks like we're getting some issues with charts loading. This one's pretty good, a little bit of resistance here. I'd give this a 6 out of 10. This still below the downward trend line, I'd give that a 6. This I'd give a 7, breaking the downward trend line from a rising bottom. A fair bit of resistance in this zone here, so that's a bit of an issue. I call that one a 7 out of 10, PULM. This lot of resistance to deal with, I'd give that a 5 or a 6. This looks pretty good, DRD gold. A lot of the golds have this kind of a chart pattern. We've seen a few already. I think a good potential to move towards $5 in the next little while. I'd give this a 7 out of 10. NGD we talked about already. Go on to the next page. One of the things when you do these market scans every day is you're going to get a sense of where there's strength and weakness. You know, there's quite a few gold stocks today, and that kind of tells you where there was action today. Just taking a look at this chart on a 3-year basis, I think it's going to get stalled at resistance, so I won't give that one a great rating. So the process is you go through your charts looking for the patterns that I teach you to look for in the foundation and investor modules. Okay, the foundation will teach you the theory, and then the investor will teach you the rules for each of these strategies. And it's all designed to be pretty simple. It takes practice. Here's a stock that made a nice break right here. Look at the abnormal volume, abnormal price, strong stock scores. That was at, call it $9. It's already at $16 within 7 days. So that's one of the core concepts. If you did this abnormal break scan on that day, this stock would have come up because it made an abnormal move that day. And that's one of the key scanning components in the market scan tool that gives you an edge. That's not something you're going to find in other places. It's my own little proprietary algorithm that looks for statistically significant abnormal price and abnormal volume behavior. And that's built into the Stockscores market scan. I will tell you that most stocks that make abnormal market moves over weeks, months, even years, will start their upward trend with abnormal price action. All right, so if we were to look at a lot of stocks that have done really well in the last, say, month, you'll find that most of them start their upward trend with abnormal price action. Schlumberger, this is another area that showed some strength today. It was the oil service companies. I don't really like their charts a lot. They're still in downward trends. You can see that this had a good day to the upside, but it's still below the downward trend line. But it could turn into something. So that's something I'll keep in the back of my mind as time passes. Some things that may end up creating opportunities. I don't think it's there yet for that sector, but today was the first sort of glimmer of hope for that group. Okay, Madison Square Garden. Here's an example. There was an abnormal break week. It made an abnormal move with abnormal volume, breaking through resistance from an ascending triangle pattern. That was at $190. Now it's at $225. It's a pretty good gain for a large cap company like that over, say 6 or 7 months. So that's the kind of thing that you can find doing these market scans each day. So we found a few, say more on the cheap side, more in the gold area, lower price stocks, but that's the process. And once you know what to look for, it's actually pretty quick, and you get good at it where you can go through charts very quickly, but it does take some practice. All right, here's my contact information. My email address is there if you have some questions, or if you found some bugs on the website, please email me, titleb@stockscores.com. I put lots of little tidbits of trading insight on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter. My handle on Twitter is @Stockscores. And I also post at least one video every week on YouTube. They're free videos, and sometimes I'll do more. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/stockscores.com, or just search for Stockscores on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. When you subscribe to the channel, you will get an email alert when I upload a new video, so you don't have to guess whether I've got something new up there. It's a simple way for you to get some great free content from me on what I am doing now. I'm going to stop the presentation there. I'll stick around to answer a few more questions. Otherwise, thank you very much. I will email a link to the video. And thanks to all of you for spending a little time with me tonight. Hope that you like the website. It took a lot of work, and I think it's a better website. It now works on your mobile device better, your iPad, your computer. It works across all devices, and that was one of our primary goals in building it. Plus, I think it's a lot cleaner and easier to use. So thanks, everyone, and I'll just stick around to answer a few more questions, but I'm going to stop the recording now.